Hi and welcome, Todd Cahill. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, but It's In You podcast, where on this podcast we talk all about the battles that we all face in our life and really how the battles that we face affect us and how we can think differently about each battle and start redefining its meaning so we can start relinquishing its power over us. See, it's a choice you have to make every day to become the best you. So we want to help you return to the battle at hand, the issues that you face, redefine what their meanings are, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning the battle that you face. So stay tuned. So glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast. It's not out there, it's in you. That's exactly how it sounds. Everything that you're looking for is not always out there, it's in you. It is a battle, and today we're going to be discussing the you versus your calendar battle, which I think it's an ever so present battle that we all face every single day of our lives. It's the planning, it's the putting in things in our calendar, if you actually have a physical calendar versus even a computer or a cell phone. So I'm excited again to bring a lot of content to you, a lot of things that you can apply right away coming out of this podcast. And of course, thank you so much for listening. You could be listening to any other podcasters, hundreds and thousands of other awesome podcasts out there. This particular one is really dedicated to winning the battle within you. And again, my name's Todd Cahill. If this is the first time, if you're a first-time listener, I'm the author of the new book, You versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. That's exactly right. Kick your own ass and win. And really, what does that mean, kick your own ass and win? It really means getting your butt in gear, stop the self-sabotage, stop the excuses, stop the feeling sorry for yourself, go out there, not only win and operate in victory, but have the resources that you need to win the 12 personal battles that you face every single day. And this is why I wrote the book. I truly believe that in life, whether you're, a young man, a young woman, all the way to, you passing away, there's going to be 12 personal battles minimum that you're going to face. And these are major battles. These are like macro battles, not micro battles. And I believe one of the biggest battles that we all going to face is the battle between you versus your calendar. So I'm going to go through a little of my book today with each and every one of you out there. And I want to encourage you that you can win this. It's something that if you are on top of your calendar, great things happen. And we all know when you're not on your calendar, obviously there is a lack of clarity and there is a frustration. And I think a lot of people are self-motivated and they're very driven, but I think a lot of people lack the clarity. So we're going to go into not only just achievement, but really just perspective. And I want to start out this podcast with a story of something that's very powerful, and it's about marbles. So of all things, it's going to be about marbles and a toy. So before I actually dive into the story, just a couple of announcements. You can follow me on Instagram at Todd M. Cahill, and also on Facebook. I have a couple of pages there. You can follow me at Todd Cahill or Todd Michael Cahill. And again, I really appreciate the follow. I'm really looking forward to building a You versus You community with the book launch in less than 2 weeks. In fact, today is December 5th. I'm pre-launching my book December 6th on Facebook Live and also Instagram Live. And I'm offering an incredible package. I'm offering a package of 3 of the 12 battles through video form that I really go into kind of I wouldn't say a classroom, but more of a master class. Because let's face it, going to class for a lot of us wasn't our favorite thing, but going to a master class, something that we really want to master, something that we're excited about. I've actually took You versus Your calendar, and I've also taken You versus Your relationships. I did over an hour of video with my wife, Kristen. And it was just I think a great time for us as a couple just to kind of discuss, go through the video and really go through what we struggle with, what you struggle with. And it's not just a marital relationship or a love relationship. It's just relationships in general. So we actually put together a whole course on You versus Your relationships and a course on You versus Your calendar, which I'm going to be discussing today a little bit. So you're going to get kind of a sneak peek of that as a podcast listener. And then we also discuss one of the other huge battles that I think a lot of people face is You versus Your finances. And that's actually a 7-video series that I did. and really the mentality of what it takes to be successful financially. And it really does. It is a heart issue, I truly believe. And it also comes down to 3 mentalities that I discuss in a 7-video part series. That all that and plus the other 2019, which has, I don't know how many videos it has, but I think it has like, I think 16 to 18 maybe, and I think 8 to 10 meditations. It's called Unleashing Your Winning Mindset, and that's really what I'm all about. And that's why I wrote the book, because I started coaching 15 years ago in the relationship marketing industry. And I really I saw so many different patterns and trends of people that, at the end of the day, they might have been motivated to go perform. They might have been motivated to go, do well in their business. But it really just came down to their mindset. And it really came down to that 6 inches between your ears, which I know that kind of sounds weird, right? The 6 inches between my ears, it's your brain. So, whatever that organ is in your mind is obviously your brain, right? And if you can unleash your winning mindset, what does that look like in your life? What does it look like to really master your thoughts and really understand the subconscious mind and how powerful it is, and understand, why meditation is such a powerful practice. And you might not be a fan of meditation, maybe because you don't know much about it. Like I didn't know much about it, about 3 or 4 years ago. And I actually studied Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which I hate this term game changer because it's just used all the time. I kind of roll my eyes when I hear that, that was a game changer, Todd, but it really is true specifically on that book. It really was a game changer for me because I needed it. I actually think it was more than, I would say probably 3.5 years ago. And I was being coached by a gentleman who is half my age, more than half my age, and he's been my coach for 12 years. And I just was really personal with him, and I told him like my fears because I just got engaged. And it was obviously not my wife, but I just was really fearful that I would self-sabotage the relationship. And I don't know if you've ever felt that way where, gosh, you're just like, you might have a perfect life and you really have a perfect not perfect, but a really great relationship with maybe a woman or a man. Maybe your kids love you so much and, you're just, constantly spending time with them. But in the back of your mind, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is not going to last. Something's going to go wrong. I'm going to be, the self-sabotager. I know something is going to go. And you just talk to yourself in such a negative way. And that's what I was doing. And he just really worked on my subconscious mind. And then he introduced the book to me, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And to make a long story short, I read that book. And first of all, the science behind meditation was powerful. That really gave me the edification of why I should do it, because of how it does lower your brain waves and how it really helps you gain control back of your mind. Or if, you have to kind of look at it like this. If you're, on a plane and you are a passenger and you realize there's no pilot flying the plane, obviously you don't want to be on the plane. Same with a car. And this gives us the opportunity to be the driver of our own mind, or the pilot of our own mind in our own cockpit. And I don't know the percentages. I don't know if anyone's ever done a study or anything like this specifically about this, but I think the percentage of people that don't really have control of their thoughts and their mind is very, very high. Of course, there's always the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the people obviously could be average, 20% could be high achievers. I mean, it could really come down to anything, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. But I think it's higher than that. I really do like being a coach myself now, a life coach. Most people don't meditate. I know it's a new wave now, and a lot of people are starting to and realizing the power of it, especially on social media and everything. But I just learned to do it right in the morning and also midday. And amongst a ton of other things on top of that, I came out with this program in 2017 called Unleash Your Winning Mindset. And that's what I really helped a lot of over 65, 70 clients, being a life coach, really impact their life and change their life. And some of my clients just went on to do phenomenal things because of it. So once you start controlling your thoughts and emotions and understanding you are in control and not the world and not society and not all the things around you, but you actually can, just like if you're overweight and you one day wake up and be like, look, I'm tired of being overweight. I want a six pack. I want muscles, or I want to look good. I want to lean out. You're in control of that. I mean, you just say you make a decision and take massive action that follows that decision. Go to the gym. You go to the gym, you work on your body, you work on your health, and all of a sudden, before you know it, 30 days later, 45 days later, 60 days later, you've changed behaviors. You not only changed a habit, maybe you went from a bad habit to a good habit, but you've also changed behaviors. And it really does take around 66 days minimum through the research that I've even done writing the book You versus You to realize that, yes, you can change a habit in 21 days, but it takes 66 days to change behaviors. So if you've never had the behavior of meditating in the morning and in the middle of the day, lowering your brain waves, having that time to yourself, and if you don't have 10, 50 minutes a day, you don't have a life, right? And I've heard Tony Robbins say that a lot, but that really was me. And I started to not self-sabotage. I started to find myself on the verge of it. Maybe it's through anger, maybe it's through fear, maybe it's through anxiety. And of course, you can always pop a pill for anxiety, maybe a little Xanax or something like that. But this is just such a very healthy way to look at unleashing your winning mindset. So anyway, I say all that to tell you, on top of those 3 video program courses that I've put together, we're also offering Unleash the Winning Mindset as well, which is just, I think, 14, 16 videos explaining this, teaching you. I call it, it really is a master class. And as well as 8 to 10 guided meditations that I use on a personal level. Some are visual. You visualize, through the meditation, and it's just amazing. So anyway, all of that plus a hardback copy of my new book, which retails on Amazon and Barnes & Noble for $19.95, which I will sign. It will be a signed copy. All of this for $57. So if you go to www.youversusyobook.com, you can hear all about it. You can see all about it. You can watch the book trailer. And, I just know that this is really going to equip a lot of people. And my passion is to get the word out, get the message out, and to share my message with you, to share my message with the world, because this is a battle that we all face. And the specific 12 battles of You versus You, again, if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to hear, I think this is episode 8, or even episode 9. I don't know off the top of my head, but you can actually check out the other episodes that I go through. But just in case you're new to the podcast, there's really 12 battles that we're all going to face. I'll go through it real quick. You versus your persona, success, you versus your dreams, routine, calendar, which obviously we're going to talk about today, finances, freedom, you versus your promises, you versus your health, you versus your relationships. And I just did a podcast with my wife on that, so you can check out the episode previous to this. And then you versus your knowledge and you versus your future. So we're 8 or 9 episodes into this podcast. Of course, I'm going to get to 12 episodes quick. And then we're just going to keep expanding on it, because you could talk about these things forever. I mean, there's so much content within these 12 battles. And again, I want you to, operate in victory. I want you to understand what it does take to win. And being, of course, an athlete myself and a former Division I athlete, winning is everything. And winning in the game of life is everything too, but you learn so much in losing too. The self-awareness that you're creating. And that's why, winning the mindset is so powerful. And unleashing that winning mindset, once you understand what you need to change, creating the self-awareness. And self-awareness is just such a huge deal for me. Again, you can get self-awareness in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. And I believe self-awareness doesn't come maybe once a year. It doesn't come on January 1st. Self-awareness comes maybe on a day-to-day basis, hour-on-hour basis, week-to-week basis. There's so many different things that we can really be honest with ourselves. And part of the journey that I've taken a lot of clients on is journaling, and really taking all the stuff that's in our head all the time. And, we're probably in our head so much. And I was in my head so much. And there's and I'm also a guy too, and I think a lot of women can handle even a lot more in their head than guys can. I think they just can multitask so much better than men. And I know for me, like, if I'm trying to do the laundry, if I'm trying to make a meal, I maybe put it in the microwave, or I'm on the stove, and then I'm doing a load of laundry, and then I'm also maybe texting some people. Like, I'm forgetting all 3. Like, I'm very good when I have a calendar in front of me, and I take it literally hour by the hour, day by the day, but I'm not involved in so many different things, because personally, I can't multitask. I can, but I'm not going to be very good at it. I'm going to be pretty much average or below average at these certain things. And I think, and everyone's different, and I know people, including my wife, that can greatly multitask, get all the chores done, make food for the family and the kids and just crush it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, how does she do that? And then I'm also good at specific things, but it's just one-track mind. So I think that self-awareness of knowing your strengths, not your weaknesses, working more on your strengths than, of course, your weaknesses. In fact, you're weak at them. So why work hard at your weaknesses? Only work on your strengths. I've learned that from my mentor, John Maxwell. I used to work for him for over 2 years and in my 20s and really have, been mentored by him for so many years. I mean, if you're a 6 on a scale 1 to 10 at speaking or writing or, doing videos or putting together courses or being a leader, you can really work your tail off, put this in the calendar, focus on getting better and better. Maybe listening to more podcasts, you're putting in your calendar, reading 10 pages a day of a great book, listening to audios, finding a coach, finding a mentor, which I do one-on-one coaching and I do group coaching as well. And, I get coached. I have 2 coaches personally myself right now that coach me that I, use every single month. So and you could put that in your calendar, but you can go from a 6 to an 8, even maybe possibly a 9. I don't think too many people are really 10s anyway. And I think it takes years and years to develop into a 10 at that high level. But if you're a 6, you can go to 8 and even 9. But you got to focus on what you're good at. You can't focus on what you're bad at. So we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses, right? And the cool thing about these battles, though, it's not about your strengths and weaknesses. Like, for instance, battle 1 is you versus your persona. It's not about weaknesses. It's about self-awareness of what maybe your weaknesses are. But, we all have a persona. We all have the one that we're showing the world, and we also have the one who's truly us, right? So what are you going to do about that? You versus your routine, right? So we also, no matter if you're strong at something or weak at something else, like you have to have a routine. But you have to, again, strive for that routine, strive for the right persona, strive for the right calendar that's going to fit your strengths well, that's going to highlight who you are in the way that God's made you, in the way that God has created you to be, because obviously not everyone is going to be a phenomenal electrician. Not everyone's going to be a phenomenal, historian. Not everyone's going to be a phenomenal construction worker. There's people that are phenomenal at those vocations and professions, but there's also people that are great at other things too. So again, everyone's unique. Everyone's created uniquely. It's not like we're just a bunch of robots and we're just the same dreams, the same goals. But these are the battles that we all, no matter who you are. That's the cool thing, I think, because I didn't want to just write a self-help book that just is another, hey, how to set a goal and how to have vision, and how to get clarity in life and the 5 ways to become a leader. There's just so many books about that. I wanted to really get real and identify 12 major personal battles that we're all going to face. And I've also shared what I've learned about these battles that either keep people from success and significance or usher them into victory. And I think a lot of times we keep ourselves from success and significance and what really we can accomplish because of the self-sabotage. So as a life coach and leadership trainer, I have been able to have the opportunity to teach thousands of people lessons like this, and many of them are now experiencing a level of personal achievement, relational abundance, and financial freedom that they never thought possible. So people do self-sabotage if they're not mindful, wise, and willing, and I'm all about wisdom. I'm all about, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, okay? I love reading the book of Proverbs. I love understanding wisdom more and more the older that I get. I'm 38 years old. I love to be wiser because I have made some very bonehead, stupid decisions. And I think if you can relate, say while you're listening, whether you're working out on the treadmill or I love listening to podcasts on the Stairmaster or when I'm lifting weights, so that's probably what you're doing. Or maybe you're driving in your car right now, maybe it's late, you kind of found me by accident because you love Tony Robbins or John Maxwell or Lewis Howes or Rachel Hollis or some of these great people, and I'm just honored that you're listening. So, I definitely want to reinforce the idea that you can choose today to fight against who you once were or are and really become who you are made to be. And You versus You is about that choice and the challenging reward and quest that ensues. And I truly believe, like in a war, in a battle, we need to put our armor on. And we need to understand, we need to have guns and we need to have not machine guns, but we need to have, artillery to put in these weapons. And this is what the armor is. So one of the things that you can really start putting your armor on is understanding the battle of you versus your calendar. So I want to begin with a story that I wrote about in the book, which is it's a true story. And I'm just going to share it with you. And I actually want to start off with this quote. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you are the pilot, or you're the pilot. Michael Altschler said that. Okay, so again, the bad news is time flies. Isn't that so true? I mean, time is just, You versus your calendar, you versus your routine. The time is always, coming and going. It's like just yesterday became 5 years ago. But the good news is that you're the pilot. Okay, so let's talk about this. There was a Saturday morning talk show host, an older sounding gentleman with a golden voice, who told listeners when he sat down one day and did a little arithmetic. He said the average person lives about 75 years. Some live more, some live less, but we're talking average. He multiplied 75 times 52, obviously 52 weeks, and came up with 3,900, which is the number of Saturdays that the average person has in their entire lifetime. The man was 55 years old by the time he thought about this in detail and had lived over 2,800 Saturdays by then. More math, he calculated that if he lived to be 75, he only had about 1,000 Saturdays left to enjoy. So he went to a toy store and bought every single marble they had. He ended up visiting 3 toy stores just to round up 1,000 marbles. He took them home and put them inside a large clear plastic container. Every Saturday, he took 1 marble out and threw it away. He said that by watching the marbles diminish, he focused more on the really important things in life, that there's nothing like watching your time here on earth run out to help get your priorities straight. Before he signed off the air that day, he told listeners that he took the very last marble out of the container that morning. He figured if he made it until next Saturday, then he'd be given a little extra time. And the one thing we could all use is a little extra time. Meet you at the toy store? So think about that. If you really knew how much time you had on earth left, and it could be a morbid thought to you, it could be a thought that you really wanted to ponder throughout your rest of your day today, the rest of your week. But if you really closed your eyes, were in your kitchen, looked at your refrigerator, closed your eyes, and then opened them up, and there was literally a jar filled of marbles, let's just call it white marbles, right? And you just visualize that right now. You open up and you either see a ton of them or a few of them, or maybe even just one more of them, or maybe none of them. Maybe this is your week. But you have to understand, like, we do have a limited time on earth. And I think a lot of times we just don't stop and smell the roses on this one and create some self-awareness in our life that we don't have that much time. And you might feel like maybe you're like me, you're like 38, you're 40, maybe you're about to turn 40, and that's the realization of like, oh my gosh, I'm almost 40. It just seemed like yesterday I was in high school, I was at my prom. Now I'm turning 40, or now I'm turning 50, or 75, like this gentleman here. So we are going as fast as we can, as soon as we can. Okay. And of course, nowadays in 2019 and, I'm sure in 2020, 2021, it's not going to get any better. In the year of just like, well, this year and next year, it's always going to be, boom, 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 go, go, go. It's the next big thing. And, you got to have this and you got to have that. You got to keep up with the Joneses. You got to have the next big, next car, the next iPhone. I mean, they come out with an iPhone every year. And of course, last year's iPhone is not as good as this year's iPhone. And you're always, competing or, against other people, or you're in your business and you're competing and you're going out there and achieving. And again, there's nothing wrong with achieving. In fact, I'm a very driven achiever. In fact, my brand is Beyond Driven. What Beyond Driven really stands for is going from not just successful, but significant, chasing significance, doing things that are significant. And that's just on a side note, when it comes to you versus your finances, for me, I just really have had a transformational thought on finances, because I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and the thing that I want to focus on more, even with my book, and I'm taking, it's $57 for my course, and $19.95 of that actually goes to the consumer. So I have an affiliate program. So if you, purchase the $57 package, you're getting the $19.95 hardback cover for free. You're basically getting the book for free and just paying for the courses of $57. And if you refer that to somebody, you get $19.95. So I'm literally giving you $20 just to tell a friend or family, or as many as you want, unlimited. And every time you do that, we're going to pay you $20. Pretty cool, right? But I'm also taking $10 of the $57 on top of that and giving it to the ministry of my choice. And for me, I've just been challenged to not only make a lot of money in life and to do well for my family. And of course, we all want to do well for our family. And I'm not saying we want to make millions. And once you reach $75,000 a year, you're pretty happy if your bills are under 75,000 a year. And that's statistics. If you're making under 75,000, you're probably more stressed than normal. But it doesn't have to be 750,000 or 7.5 million. It's just 75,000 or more. But anything actually more than 150,000, statistically, people are actually more unhappy because they're living maybe outside their means. They're feeling like at that level they can go buy the big car payment, the big house. They can really expand or extend their, all that stuff, and they're getting in more and more debt. So the reality is you have to know what your priorities are. You have to know, like, why even make a calendar? What am I seeking? What am I just out there to, make a dollar to fill my calendars? Even when it comes to your family, am I just out there just to run Johnny around and your daughters, your son, whatever it is, to baseball practice, basketball practice? And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I love, doing that as a father. But if that's all I did as a father, I think I would lose a lot of passion for being a father, quite frankly, because life is more than just running around, dropping kids off, paying bills, working hard, working out. What is the significance behind your calendar? What are you putting in your calendar that's transformational? For me, I want to help different ministries. I want to travel more, not just to vacation more, but to do more impactful things for other people. And I think the self-awareness, again, always has to be there because we as human beings live in this apathetic state a lot of the times where we're constantly drawn to natural human instincts. So natural human instincts are, for instance, if you wanted to go on a missions trip to Kenya to build a home for Kenyans, and live in Africa for a couple weeks, that's probably not going to be as safe or comfortable if you were, staying at your warm, comfy house under the fireplace, right? It's easy to be like, yeah, that's good for that person, but I'm good where I'm at right now. And I'm not saying you have to do that, and don't feel guilty if you don't want to do that, or if you haven't done that yet. But there are certain things that you could do in your community. There's certain things you can add to your calendar that are going to give you more significance. And with significance comes fulfillment. And being fulfilled is actually, it's a win-win, right? You're adding value to others, and it's a win-win for you. And for me, while I'm recording this, it's a little before 10 p.m. I had a long day, but you know what? I enjoy doing podcasts, and I don't know who's going to listen to this. And again, if you're listening to this, if you like it, please share it because, look, my dream is to get my message out to as many people that really need to hear it, not just people in general, but I'm looking for high achievers. I'm looking for people that don't just want to make a buck. They want to be significant. They want to make a ton of money and do a lot of significant things with the money. They want to live significant, healthy lives. They want to have significant relationships because life is definitely not easy. And it's specifically not easy when you don't master these battles and when you are not living a life of significance. Because if a significant God created you to be significant, but you're not living in your significance, you're just living, you're not going to feel truly fulfilled. And your creator, it's kind of hard to hear this, but is not really proud of you. Can you imagine if your mom or dad, whether you have a relationship with them or not, I don't care, if they're alive, if they're not, okay, if they said they're not proud of you because of what the choice that you've made to how you live your life, would that affect you? No big deal, right? Oh, my mom said she's not proud of me. My dad said he's not proud of me. Your best friend says he or she's not proud of you. That would really affect you. And that would create probably immediate self-awareness to be like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing wrong? Like, because I legitimately trust my parents or trust my friend or trust my spouse. And if they said they're not proud of me, then what am I doing wrong? And I know that's kind of an interesting thought, but what if God isn't proud of you? And I know he loves unconditionally, but it's just a debate. It's just a thought that I want to kind of put out there to you because you're just not living a very significant life. You're living kind of a boring life, a life filled with maybe Netflix and TV shows and reality shows and, checking up on your neighbor and, going to soccer practice and sitting there on your phone and not even really watching, your son kick the ball or teaching them, and you're not even the coach, you're just kind of sitting on the sidelines. So I'm here to bring awareness because I've been there. And I have a wall calendar in my office, and and a lot of you probably do too. You probably have a calendar in your office and stuff, but it's what you put on the calendar that matters. So I like to tangibly track where I am in the month, and the fact that It has motivational quotes on it as a bonus, as I never knew what I wanted. Last year, I had a calendar with a basketball trivia that my kids got me for Christmas. I keep track of my life on my phone's calendar too, and I think a lot of us do that. But I also love to keep track on a written planner and a whiteboard. So I have a whiteboard in my office and stuff, and if you've maybe seen me do like Facebook Lives and stuff, I have this little nook in my house. My house is like 6,000 square feet, but I have a lot of equipment, and it doesn't really look beautiful. So I have this little nook in my house in my basement. And I have a big whiteboard. So if I do a live, I'm doing a live tomorrow, you're just going to basically see, no beautiful pictures or paintings in the background. You're just going to see a whiteboard, probably with my goals on it and what I need to do for the next webinar, the next podcast, content. But that's just, I have to see it. I have to visualize it. I have to write it down. And maybe you're a lot like me, but there's nothing like putting pad to pen. And again, in the age of smartphones and the internet, you might think the days of paper calendars are numbered, but data suggests otherwise. Okay, so listen to this. Not only have they survived the digital revolution, but sales of some kinds of print calendars have actually increased, believe it or not. The sales of appointment books and planners grew by 10% to 342.7 million from 2014 to 2015. 2015 to 16, and decorative and other calendars increased by 8% to 65 million in that time. So it is proof that people take their time management seriously. Do you ever ponder calendars, right? How and why did they start? How and why did they come to rule over us without mercy? Okay, right? Some of these are just like, we live and die by a calendar, maybe you're like that. The term calendar is related to the Latin verb calare, to call out. And its original purpose back in the day was to keep track of the solar year. Calendars can be tracked back to prehistoric periods where days were not named and months were divided into 2 or 3 seasons depending on the phase of the moon. The 7-day week started around 2300 BCE and was associated with the 7 heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, the 5 planets visible to the naked eye. The days were named accordingly: Sunday after the sun, Monday after the moon. Thursday translates to Thor's day, okay? So Chris Hemsworth, thank you. After the hammer-wielding Norse god of thunder, strength, and protection, as well as the Roman god Jupiter, who was known as the god of sky and thunder. For the last 3 centuries, and again, I'm giving you a little bit of history on why we even have a calendar, and a 30-day calendar, and a year calendar, 365 days, etc. For the last 3 centuries, the worldwide standard has been the Gregorian calendar, named after Pope Gregory VIII, who introduced it in 1582. It took place of the Julian calendar, named after Julius Caesar. This calendar miscalculated the length of the solar year by 11 minutes, which would have resulted in a gain of about 3 days every 400 years. The legal code of the United States actually doesn't specifically, name an official national calendar. Our use of the Gregorian calendar stems from the Act of Parliament of the United Kingdom in 1751, which mandated its use in England and its colonies. So again, I get taking a little bit of the history that I've studied in the battle of not just helping you prepare your calendar better, but where does this calendar thing come from? Where does this whole days and months and years and 7 days all come from? And why do we use it? And why are we constantly obsessed with it, even as Americans? Okay, and even if you're listening to this in another country, a lot of the same countries are the same. Okay, 7 days a week, obviously we all have it. By convention, the day is the smallest calendar unit of time. Okay. The need to gauge further divisions led the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans to create sundials, water clocks, and other early chronometric tools. Western Europeans adapted these technologies, but by the 13th century, demand for dependable timekeeping instrument led medieval artisans to invent the mechanical clock. If the calendar keeps us regimented, the clock keeps us tethered. We're bound by both. But the tick-tock of the clock is what provides us with a sense that we're in control of time itself. This is a ridiculous illusion, since time is only is one of the only things in life we really can't control. We're only in charge of what we do with it. Okay, so again, I really wanted to share that with you because I wanted to bring you to perspective. I wanted to bring you to a point now in this podcast where you're just like, I get that, because there's this sense of, time management, that people try to manage time, but there's no such thing. You cannot manage time. You can only manage yourself and how well you're prepared for the day, even before the day starts. And I like to plan my day before the day starts. I like to understand what my calendar looks like, but I'm not obsessed. I also like you versus your routine. I also like to welcome interruptions. Things that maybe my kid wants to go for a walk and I didn't plan it in my calendar. So, heaven forbid, my kid wants to go on a walk, or my dog wants to go on a walk, or hey, I want to throw the baseball with my son in the middle of a work day. And sometimes you just have to say, screw work, because this is way more important, because this is on the top of my priority list. So there's going to be things that are disruptive, and you have to welcome them, because you can't just be regimented, but there is a sense of being prepared, which I think is smart. And we all know that an hour can seem like an eternity or pass in a flash according to how we spend it. Albert Einstein said, put your hand on a hot stove for a minute and it seems like an hour. Sit with a pretty girl for an hour and it seems like a minute. Ain't that the truth? So it got me thinking about the relativity of time. So I'm going to give you a couple examples to time. It's pretty amazing, how long something can take that can be great, and also how minimum something can take that still is great. So listen to this. The Great Pyramid took an estimated 23 years to complete. To get it done that quickly, workers had to set one block in place every 2 minutes during a 10-hour workday, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. 23 years it took. In total, the Great Wall of China, this is my favorite, took more than 2,000 years to build. Construction of the 13,000-mile wall was completed in stages, spanning over several dynasties and leaderships. Imagine that 2,000 years, and it was 13,000 miles of wall. And some of you might have been to the Great Wall of China. Unbelievable. From keel to completion, the Titanic was ready for its maiden voyage after 2 years and 2 months. A very short time frame. More than 15,000 men were employed to work on it. Maybe they should have spent more time. Too soon. An opossum gestational period is 12 to 13 days. A woman's full-term pregnancy lasts 280 days, 9 months. Killer whales are pregnant for up to 547 days. Elephants carry their babies for roughly 665 days. The Empire State Building took 1 year and 45 days to build. There were 3,000 workers building 4.5 floors per week, accumulating more than 7 million man-hours. It took Michelangelo 4 years to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. It was so physically taxing that it permanently damaged his eyesight. Usain Bolt won a gold medal at the 2016 Rio Olympics for running 100 meters in 9.81 seconds. So we measure time and track accomplishments by how long they took to complete. We pride ourselves on quick turnarounds, hitting deadlines, and being on the fast track, okay? So true, right? Hopefully you guys agree with this. The above examples that I gave were all amazing feats that required so much time, patience, and planning. But what about the equally amazing things that you couldn't possibly prepare for? In other words, what if some of the best things in life can't be on your calendar in advance? Paul McCartney dreamed the melody of yesterday and captured it in chords and words as soon as he woke up. John Hopps, an electrical engineer, was conducting research on hypothermia and was trying to use radio frequency heating to restore body temperature. During his experiment, he realized that if the heart stopped beating due to cooling it, it could be started again by artificial stimulation. This realization led to the pacemaker. John and Will Kellogg accidentally left a pot of boiled grain on the stove for several days. The mixture turned moldy, but the product that emerged was dry and thick. Through experimentation, they eliminated the mold part and created cornflakes. And then there's the story of Building 20, a shoddily constructed building intended to house a handful of researchers during World War II and for 6 years and 6 months after. Yet the temporary structure stayed up until 1998, and its significance was evident as its wake. Yes, mourners of the building held awake. Scientists traveled from around the country to mark the passing and pay their respects of what they called the Plywood Palace. Building 20 was not designed at all, just built. It was made out of wood, even though that broke the fire code. Its windows never fit and would sometimes fall out of stiff winds. The place was hot in the summer, cold in the winter, and drafty all the time. Soot blew in from the city and rain poured in through the roof leaks. Down the halls of the building ran exposed pipes and wires. The plywood walls and ceilings meant scientists could easily punch through their boundaries without permission, which they often did. No department owned it. It was multidisciplinary, and its tiny offices made it so people would go into long corridors and share ideas. It became known as an idea factory, an altar for creativity and discovery. Among the formal achievements of those who worked in Building 20 were the creation of radar, the construction of the world's first atomic clock, and the start of the modern school of linguistics under the impetus of Noam Chomsky. One of the earliest atomic particle accelerators was built there. Armor Bose reinvented the speaker there, and Harvard Edgerton, the master of stop-action photography, set up his strobes and cameras in the space to photograph a bullet shot through an apple. The building that became a home for almost 4,000 researchers in 20 disciplines and influenced decades of extremely important innovation was a happy accident. The greatest leaders learn to see and seize opportunities in obscure moments and from unexpected people and places. Some of your greatest avenues for critical lessons, connections, and victories come from the contexts that aren't necessarily practical or prepared ahead of time. To grab a hold of them, you can't live and die by your calendar, paper, electronic, or otherwise. So again, let's redefine this battle, because I talk about the 3 R's in my book, okay? We have to return to it and of course, understand what the battle does to us, good or bad, and then we have to redefine it. So let's talk about that real quick. To win the battle between you and your calendar, you have to know how to balance what must be done with what might come up. Okay? So when is your most productive time? People are most productive at 11 a.m. on a Monday in October. Okay? So seriously, a 4-year study analyzed data spanning hundreds of thousands of users who worked on over 1.8 million projects with 28 million individually assigned tasks to determine when they were most likely to get work done. Taking into account the time of day of the week, and the fluctuations of different months and seasons, they confirm things that you may have long suspected. We peak in productivity in the morning, we get most of our work done earlier in the week, and we rush to complete tasks before the holiday season. Isn't that so true? You know, for me it is too. Mondays, love Mondays because I'm most productive. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Thursdays, pretty good. Fridays, not so much. Weekends, don't even call me, okay? I'm with my kids or working out or, watching a movie, okay? I think we all can relate to that. Back when most people worked in factories, productivity was constant. The assembly rolled at its set pace, and no matter what time of day or year it was, you screwed a certain number of widgets together every hour. But research shows that in today's world, productivity is much more variable. Far from working steadily 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, most workers have peaks and valleys of productivity, alternating intense periods of work with long stretches of cat videos and de-spamming inboxes. So what's with the variation between then and now? It is due to the ever-present debate of millennial entitlement, not so fast. Or is it due? No. Modern life has become increasingly hectic. Our days are filled with one distraction after another, and not just because we have the World Wide Web at our fingertips, though that certainly doesn't help. Sit in your office for a mere hour minding your own business, and you're plagued with incoming emails, reminder scheduled meetings, unscheduled meetings, random chit-chat, and a myriad of other annoyances that make concentration more difficult. How does anyone get anything done? And I can't tell you how many times in my day have been hijacked by an emergency. I use the term emergency loosely. That forces me to shift, postpone, deviate, and accommodate something unforeseen. I've come to expect the unexpected, and I mean I have 3 kids, I have a wife, and now a golden retriever who constantly wants to go outside hour on the hour to play and get muddy, and I have to clean them. We live in Chicago, so half the year it's, Chicago, okay? Half the year it's blah, and half the year it's amazing. So I still find myself feeling put off when something or someone throws a wrench in my schedule. I really do. It frustrates me. I'd have to be honest with you. I've been very frustrated even at my wife sometimes, because it's just like she wants to talk to me, and then I have a phone call waiting for me, and then my kids want to talk to me, and then the dog wants to be let out, and then I have to make food, and I'm hungry, or I'm hungry and nobody's making me food, and I'm frustrated because nobody's making me, there's all these different things, because I also work from home, and I really do believe that working from home is 10 times more distracting than going into a 9 to 5. And I haven't had a 9 to 5 in pretty much my whole life. So I kind of envy if you have a 9 to 5, but we've all seen Office Space, and maybe you are filled with distractions of things that you don't want to do because you can't stand your job. So I don't know where I find you on all this today. And again, I can keep going on with, all of these kind of energy suckers and productivity killers and work satisfaction destroyers. And it's bad enough that the average person's attention span is 12 seconds in 2000, and it's only 8 seconds in 2013. So 2019, it's less than 8 seconds of a person's attention span just when you're talking to them. So understand we're living in weird times, okay? Being interruptible, though, doesn't mean you don't focus on your work or priorities. It doesn't mean you don't take assignments and responsibilities seriously. It means you don't assume that what you're doing is more important than what someone else needs from you. Busyness creates stress, which requires you to escape, but a life focused on others requires a willingness to be interrupted. And that's the point that I want to make with all of you, is going back to the significant side, is are you really willing to be interrupted? Are you really willing to, not just have a set schedule or a busy schedule? And I want to share something with you, and I know we're almost done, but you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. And I think sometimes people get into this busyness, right? I'm so busy. But if you really look at their achievements, they're not really achieving much. And it's not just the success side, but it's mostly the significant side. They're not really achieving breakthroughs. They're not having breakthroughs. They're not purpose-driven. They're just doing the things because maybe their dad told them to, or their mom told them to, or they're just live in America, so you have to get a job and you have to produce. And of course, we all have bills, so it's noble to pay our bills on time. Don't get me wrong, but that's where just unhappiness comes, when you're just constantly having to do things and having a busy schedule. It will eventually catch up to you. In the hurry, you have to start to ruthlessly eliminate it from your life. We've all maybe seen the movie, 2000 movie, Castaway. Remember that movie? Tom Hanks plays obsessively punctual FedEx. If you've seen the beginning of, obviously, the movie, what happens is, his name was Chuck Nolan. His plane crashes over the Pacific Ocean during a storm. But you remember why it crashed? Because obviously he had to get the package there or whatever, because he's punctual. But he was kissing Helen Hunt in the middle of a rainstorm and a thunderstorm. Hello. He's the sole survivor of the flight and washes ashore on a deserted island along with a handful of FedEx packages. He is alone on the island for the next 4 years. So here's someone that's constantly on the go, and now he has all the time in the world for 4 years. What would you do, right? Right before he boarded the plane that fateful night, his girlfriend gave him a pocket watch as a Christmas gift, a perfect present since he was both the ultimate victim and enforcer of the clock, even telling his employees earlier in that movie that we never ever allow ourselves the sin of losing track of time. The pocket watch was still on him when he got to the island, although it was broken. Time had figuratively stopped. Ironically, the guy who was haunted by never having enough time now had nothing but. Only in the absence of him being on a time schedule or in a situation where time wasn't important did he realize that there were more important things in life than what was on his calendar. Would you have to be a castaway on a deserted island in order to comprehend that? Why is it such a hard concept to grasp? And I just want to, and I have so much to share. And again, this is a lot of this content is in the book, but I want to leave you with 3 thoughts. I want you, number 1, slow down so that you can speed up your progress. There's a saying in the industry that I have been a part of, is slow down to speed up. And I like that to an extent, of course, because we don't want to slow down all the time, because there are some times in life we want to speed up and when we want to go fast. But you can't always go fast and you can't always go slow. And there's certain times you're going to have to slow down to speed up. And what are 3 ways in which you can eliminate hurry from your life today. What are some things that you can just say, you know what, I want to eliminate this, I want to eliminate that. It's just hurry, it's just busyness, nothing is getting done, it's taking energy, it's taking stress, it's taking anxiety away from me. Or it's giving me that, and it's really, in a sense, taking life away from me slowly. Number 2, prioritize your life to be productive, not busy. What are some areas in your life that keep you busy but aren't actually helping you get to the next level? And I coach people a lot on this. What are some areas of your life that you're just like, I'm busy, but I'm not really getting to that next level? Things I'm focused on, things I'm doing are not getting me fulfillment. They're not bringing me achievement. They're not bringing me bigger paychecks. They're not bringing me things that I really need or desire or want. Number 3, and lastly, make time now for the things that really matter. Remember the movie Castaway, in your thought this week. It's such a powerful movie, and I love it, and I love that movie, and I love the ending. Actually, the ending kind of sucks, but because I'm a hopeless romantic, but there's such a powerful story to that at the very end, where he just decides to, man, he has the rest of his life, in front of him, in that kind of cornfield in the middle of nowhere, and then he meets that other girl, and possibilities are endless now because he's been through so much, right? So make time for the things that really matter. Build your daily, weekly, and monthly plan to first make time for what truly matters, and then fill in the rest. I have learned that when you make time for what matters most, all the other pieces in life begin to fall into place. Okay, and I'm still learning that lesson today, and I've definitely learned that lesson since I married my beautiful bride a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, because she is all about family and all about putting family first, and also, of course, God first. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today. This is a you versus you challenge. This is a you versus you calendar challenge to you that you can win this, but don't forget to live. So guys, thanks so much to listening to my podcast. And by the way, do me a huge favor. Take 30 seconds or less. Go give me a great review. Give me a 5-star review and share a little bit how this is impacting your life, and share it with other people. It would mean the world to me so much. Thank you so much for listening, and looking forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks so much.